lights came on, my sizzle reel is completed? Or
It's my. I think it was my sizzle reel.
Oh, okay.
It's all good.
We'll close with mine. Couldn't see it from here. So thank you, Jim, for joining us. Verna did a nice introduction, but I think just to start, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody. Maybe tell everybody a little bit of your background, what your role is at Warner Brothers Discovery.
No problem. Well, Will, thank you, and thank you to everybody for joining us today and watching me speak. I'm Jim Keller. I run the digital and advanced advertising business at Warner Brothers Discovery. I know that sounds like one big simple thing, but at the end of the day, I basically, and my team, we run the go-to-market strategy for anything that is delivered through an IP address, whether or not it's HBO Max and Discovery Plus, CNN, Bleacher Report, March Madness Live, our 20-plus different TV Everywhere apps. And then I also run all of our advanced advertising, so our national addressable business, data-driven linear, and the digital operations that come with all of this, whether or not it's programmatic or the ad ops system. So I'm very thankful that I have a couple of my team members here today that help us drive this strategy forward into the marketplace. But before that, I spent 7 years at Hulu in the early stages of what became CTV and OTT, and really helping to drive that adoption as viewers were leaning into the streaming environment. So I'm very excited to be here and talk to you guys about how consumers win in a streaming era.
Wonderful. So safe to say you've had a front row seat over the last decade to all the changes that we've been speaking about this morning. So Warner Brothers Discovery is in a unique position where there's arguably over a century of brand equity, content, and with that sort of track record, I gotta ask you, just to learn a little bit more about you, what's your favorite program or show in the Warner Brothers Discovery catalog?
That's such a loaded question, right? So there's so much that we have when you put these two big behemoth media companies together. Just about a year ago, I mean, the amount of franchises that we have, from Harry Potter to the NBA to HGTV to Food Network, CNN. I mean, it's countless of how much assets that we have in the marketplace. But I would say my favorite, the current answer, I think a lot of people in America are kind of addicted to The Last of Us, and the season finale is this coming weekend. So I'm really excited about that show. But I would say that from a legacy perspective, I can watch Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm for 5 hours at a time. So I guess that would be the show that I would go back to over and over again.
Hard to argue. But you kind of hit on this just with your answer. So, arguably HBO Max, at least in terms of, what I watch and what my family watch, probably the most premium content that's available for advertisers at scale. But what are you hearing from advertisers about premium content at scale versus UGC?
That's an interesting question. I would say that in the role that I have, I don't hear a lot of advertisers talking about our content in comparison to UGC. I believe that UGC is part of a media buy. People are going to buy it. It has relevance. Consumers are watching it. But I think when you start getting into the concept of premium, it's what is premium to you, the user? What is premium to you, the marketer? And what we're finding is whether or not it's the creature comfort content that we have on TLC and HGTV and Food Network, or it's the premium HBO originals, or it's libraries like Friends, we're spending a lot of time talking to clients about that premium content environment that we bring to the table on all of our platforms. And making sure that the content shines with a really relevant ad load that is non-intrusive, that is really driving forward the overall value of what that premium means. There's a lot of studies that we've read in the marketplace over the last couple of months and years that talk about what consumers feel, right? Where their value is. And we've seen some studies, and I think you guys have done some work on this area as well, that talk about how people pay more attention to more professionally produced content than they do the UGC. There's a higher level of view-through and higher level of engagement. And that leads to that positive halo effect for the marketers that are purchasing our content in those venues, where they're seeing a higher brand affinity, a higher level of intent to purchase. And we lean into those attribution metrics when we're talking to clients, as opposed to saying we're better, different than UGC. We understand everything's part of a media plan, But when you look at what we bring to the table, we're bringing some really strong value around our content and our ad experiences.
Do you see that also as, but has there been a shift in gravity back towards premium? So, just looking at the long arc of programmatic or digital in particular, it used to kind of start with audiences and content was somewhat of an abstraction. But do you actually see, just from everything you mentioned in your conversations, are those getting easier? Is the premium conversation, I guess, more front and center? Is the gravity shifted back in your favor?
I would say a little. I wouldn't necessarily back in our favor. I think that we've always had it in our favor because of the content that we have. But I would say the access programmatically through automation to our premium content is something that we hear from advertisers often. I want to do a commitment with you, but I want to make the decisioning. I want to make a commitment to you, but I need more scale in the premium content. So I think that there is a desire for growth in this area. And with the content that we have, I feel like we're at the pinnacle of what we can offer advertisers. And as we scale our services and we merge, and I think one of the things we're going to talk about is we're going to merge HBO Max and Discovery Plus into one Uber site, Uber app. That's going to help us generate even more traffic and more reach.
That was a perfect segue. That was literally my next question.
We did a really good prep.
Yeah.
Like twice.
We spent a lot of time on Zoom. We're going to finish each other's sentences by the time we leave. But so this merger has been going on for just over a year now. What can you share about the plans for Discovery Plus, HBO Max? Is there anything you can let everybody know today about how that's shaping up or what we can look for?
Well, I can't make any big proclamations today. Obviously, we have a couple of big announcements coming up. We've been very public that later this year, we will be bringing those two services together. We talked about it at our earnings report most recently that on April 12th, we will be making some announcements around what that new service will look like, what it's called, what it's priced, all the content that's going to be there. And then, of course, in May, we have our upfront where we'll talk a lot more about what those ad experiences are and how people can get access to this inventory. But I think from a consumer perspective, it's a game-changing experience. When you take all of the premium content that exists on HBO Max and the library from Warner Brothers movies and televisions throughout history, and you add in DC and Harry Potter, and then you merge that with this great content that is brand safe from Discovery and HGTV and Food Network and TLC, it's really going to offer consumers an unparalleled content experience. And as that scales, that's going to be something that's really, really important for marketers to have at the centerpiece of their overall OTT and CTV strategies, because this is the type of content that's resonating with a really light ad load. I mean, right now, our ad experiences on both Discovery Plus and HBO Max are towards the best in the business in terms of the lightest commercial ad load and really leaning into ways to allow the marketers' messages to shine.
Well, let's go deeper there, because that was a topic we wanted to talk about. We really did prep extraordinarily well. He's just teeing me right up. I'm like, I don't even know why I have these.
Because you look good with those cards.
I do feel like a talk show host. I put on my suit and everything. I like Secession, by the way.
Season premiere,
you
March 30th, right?
Yeah.
So check that out.
I was actually good. Okay.
It's the last season. You got to check it out. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You don't want to learn important things on stage in front of people. I was not ready to know that was the last season. But consumer experience.
Yes.
You're obviously focused on it. Beyond, I think you can speak to it, just in terms of ad loads and how you're focused on that. But how do you talk to marketers about it? When, we're looking for scale, but you're also looking to respect the consumer and their experience. And then how do you tie that down to a discussion about performance or outcomes, or even just the quality of the impact that advertisers are having? I have to imagine that's an integral part of the conversation that you're having.
Oh, without a doubt, it's an integral part of the conversation. And, one of the things that I've kind of been building my career upon in the CTV space for the last decade is that non-intrusive, non-disruptive ad experience, right? So here at Warner Brothers Discovery, we look at our ad experiences under 3 buckets: reach, reward, and interact. and like how can we kind of frame our ad product development under those three banners, right? So reach is simple. It's like, it's the pre-roll experience, it's the mid-roll experience, it's sponsorships, it's takeovers, or things that allow you to really make a splash on any given day or over a campaign. From a reward perspective, we are offering binge ads, and we have opportunities for advertisers to tie into sequential messaging that really leans into what the audiences are doing. And then interact, we're really leaning into interactivity ads that allow people to engage deeper with the marketer, maybe get behind the scenes content, get information from the advertiser through QR codes. And I would love to be able to say that we have like a robust e-commerce strategy right now, but like that's something that we're kind of working on right now on like what does e-commerce look like that what allows us to interact together across the board. So one of the things that's been interesting for us is that we've had two schools of thought at Warner Media and at Discovery in terms of some things as simple as the nomenclature related to our ad products. So harmonizing those together and making sure those ad products can resonate across all digital endpoints is really super important for us. Like we're not looking to bring to marketers a Swiss cheese approach to ad products. We want to make sure that when I come to you and my team comes to you with an ad experience that it can run on both of our streaming services, on all of our TV Everywhere apps, on all platforms, whether or not it's Roku or Amazon. So there's a lot of work that we do to make sure that it's a seamless experience so that consumers get the same ad experience if you're on a Roku in your living room or you're on a iPhone on the train, that you're getting the same type of ad experience.
That's wonderful. There's also your version of a FAST channel on the horizon. Is there anything you can share on that front?
You're back to back with the questions I really can't make big answers on. But
yeah.
FAST is important to us. We've been very public about having a FAST strategy into the future. And it's probably the one area of streaming where we don't have a robust offering. You might have read towards the end of the last calendar year, we did some licensing deals where we took some of our library content and we're licensing it to Tubi and Roku, who are obviously two of the premier players in the FAST space. But I look at FAST as one of the stools of our video offering. And we'll be making much more announcements about that in the future. You think about, we want to leave no viewer and leave no sub behind, right? So whether or not you are a cable customer and you're watching our linear networks, or you're cutting the cord and you're paying for an AVOD streaming service, or if you want to exchange your entertainment time for an ad load on FAST, we want to serve you where you want to be served. And when you think about the library of content that we have a lot of content that we can potentially put into a FAST service that creates new reach, creates new audiences, and also serves as a little bit of a platform for us to create some sub-acquisition on our paid streaming services as well. So there's a lot more to come around FAST in the future, and it's one of the areas in the business that I'm pretty excited about, like what that will be for us.
It sounds like you have all the pieces and the sort of the strategy there. It's just a matter of time before
we just need to get the deals done and execute it and then bring it to market, and then work with partners like yourself and the advertisers in the room to make it a seamless experience.
If it's just getting through legal, like that'll be nothing. So you've hit on this a lot, or in different ways. So you have this unique opportunity across so many different content types. I mean, virtually every human interest is probably covered by your catalog, from Food Network, CNN, TNT, and HBO. So a lot of buyers in the room. How do you talk to them about buying across such a portfolio of content, or zeroing in on the parts that are most relevant? How do you engage with the buying community when you talk about such an expansive portfolio?
Yeah, I would say that the things that we try to do is we want to make it easy to buy and easy to sell for our team as well. So I want to make sure that we're providing solutions that really lean into how an advertiser wants to get access to that audience. So if you want to utilize first-party audience or third-party audience, and you want to do it direct, or you want to do it through automation, we want to make that easy for you. And with that, we want you to open it up to the full breadth of our entire portfolio. Think about our entire swath of content when you're on a buy audience. But if you want to be more contextually relevant, because maybe you're a food advertiser and you only want to be in food and home shows, or maybe you're a travel advertiser and you want to only make sure you're in travel content and maybe premium dramas. I don't know what you want to buy White Lotus, right? Like if you're going to focus on the contextually relevant, then maybe potentially not layer on those really hyper small audience segments because it may limit your scale. So we're constantly working in a consultative way to make sure that people are bringing the right data to the table when you want to get access to our audiences. Because we don't want to get to the point where you have this robust data set and we're not necessarily scaling the way you want. So each individual IO, each individual PMP becomes a bespoke solution that allows you to reach those audiences across all of our content.
So it sounds like based on your scale, the quality of content, that you have an extraordinarily flexible approach in that you you have an ability to fine-tune the dials based on that marketer's particular needs.
Yeah, without a doubt. And a lot of it is also coming back to aligning on like the programmatic strategies that both legacy companies had, right? Like we're bringing those together and making sure that we can offer all of our digital endpoints within one combined PMP, right? So that's one thing that was one of the first things that we did towards the tail end of last year is to create an opportunity for people to get access to any of our digital inventory across WBD through one seat in the programmatic ecosystem, right? And with that, it gives you the opportunity to get both inventory on TBS, on TV Everywhere, or get it on HBO Max, or get it on Food Network or Discovery Plus. When we bring those together, it opened up the scale of what can be offered to advertisers.
Speaking of scale and just overall cultural relevance, some big moments coming up for Warner Brothers Discovery. We have March Madness right around the corner, so another productivity loss for many people here. Recently sold out NBA All-Star Weekend, onboarding 20 new net advertisers. So what do you attribute this success to?
I think that when you think about sports, first, I worked in sports in the early 2000s. So to be able to get back into sports now is really super exciting. And it's like a blast for the past because I'm working with some people that I worked with 15, 20 years ago. But it's exciting because sports is all about fandom, and it kind of speaks to everything else that we have. Like we have these robust fan communities around Game of Thrones or our cooking shows, but the fandom that exists in sports is second to none. And while, yes, a lot of our sports viewing is on our linear networks with the NBA and NHL, it does extend out into social. It does extend out into our other video assets. And we're finding huge success by being where the fans want, right? So one of the things that we were really excited about is NBA All-Star Weekend. We had over 400 million video views digitally across all of our NBA.com assets, our NBA TVE, and of course Bleacher Report, which is part of our portfolio. So we're meeting the fans in these interactive moments that they can really resonate with the content that they love. Next week, March Madness Live is going to be fantastic. It's my first March Madness Live as part of the new company, and we're the sole seller of all of the games digitally. And the March Madness Live app is an amazing experience. We'll be able to stream every single game. We will be able to stream up to 4 games on one screen at any given time. We have a red zone-like feature where we're whipping around to the last minutes of every game. We have on-demand video highlights. And then with the breadth of all of the WBD talent, we're creating some unique content that both lives within the app and on Bleacher Report, where people are like Charles Barkley or Jake Tapper or other celebrities in our portfolio are going to be talking about the game. So when you think about all of this, it's really an awesome, culturally relevant moment with huge fandoms across the country that we're going to be at the center of. And I know this is a programmatic conference, so like we are trying to figure out ways that this will be the first year that we're testing with you guys, no less, some ways that we can vet some certain advertisers into buying setting up PMPs during the course of the tournament to get access to those spikes in inventory that are not maybe purchased already through the NCAA Corporate Champions or our other sponsors. So yeah, I'm excited what that's going to be next week.
I mean, live sports is still such a early opportunity for programmatic and digital. Like we're really just starting to scratch the surface of what's possible, how to really take this massive distribution that you have, meeting fans where they are, and make sure that we can integrate and take advantage of this, really impactful appointment viewing, something that really only exists within sports to some extent now, where we've shifted time and so many other elements. It's really exciting.
But to that end, while we're doing the test with March Madness Live in a condensed 3-4 week period, we are offering a lot of programmatic sports right now under WBD Sports. Like all of our TV Everywhere, NBA, NHL, and MLB games are available to be purchased through automation, through dynamic ad insertions, and our access into our virtual MVPDs like DirecTV Stream and Hulu Live, et cetera. So we're leaning into what does the role of automation play in our sports assets. So I think you'll see a lot more news on what the role sports plays in the direct-to-consumer business from us at some point in the future.
That's wonderful. I can't help but to think when you're talking about the 4 screens, basically, I'm going to be able to get the game on this app, any game everywhere. I really feel bad for anybody getting married this weekend. I'm that guy. I've known you for a while, and I know your viewpoint on CTV is it's foundationally built on 2 things. Data and automation that are very powerful in silos, but together allow for synergies that allow for unimaginable business results. But why are data, in your view, and automation so important in the programmatic process?
Well, honestly, I think it comes back to the ad experience, right? If we use data in the right way to make sure we're serving the right ad to the right consumer, we're going to create a positive halo effect for that viewing experience, that this ad is relevant to me, that this ad is speaking to me in this moment of where I need it. So I'm a big believer of that data-informed buying, whether or not it's through CTV or if it's data-driven linear, is only going to create a more favorable viewing experience where that consumer is going to continue to stay, the length of tune is longer, the engagement to that advertiser is going to be a much more positive halo effect. So I also think about things as the future will be automated, right? And when the future is automated, let's use data to the right way to make sure that it's having the benefit to elevate the content and elevate the ad experience.
Wonderful. So we've asked everybody on stage to sort of look into their crystal ball, make a prediction. So by this time next year, what do you think will be our big takeaway? What do you think? What
for the industry or for me and WBD?
You and WBD.
Okay. Well, I would say that last year was the year of the merger, the year of transformation. This year is really about the year of building at WBD and really building into the franchises that we own, whether or not the franchises we're talking about are our streaming services, our relationships with our advertisers. We've made some big announcements around our movie studio slate and what we're going to be doing with the DC franchises. But this year, it's all going to be about what we can build to really super serve consumers. On the media side, I think this time next year, we'll be spending a lot of time taking a look back of did the marketplace change around the world of measurement? We've all spent a lot of time talking about cross-platform measurement and alternative currencies and ways that we can do things differently. And I think the next couple of months, as we all head into the upfront cycle, will really determine what does cross-platform measurement really mean to each individual marketer, advertiser, and agency, and media company. So, we've been leaning forward with doing a lot of testing and learning and proof of concepts with all the major players in this space. And I know that starts as kind of a replacement strategy for Nielsen, but it really is all about cross-platform measurement at the end of the day and making sure that every eyeball for every ad is being viewed. And given where I sit across all of the digital ecosystem, we want to make sure that we're accurately reporting that data out. So I think that the next year is transformative in terms of what we can be doing around the space of measurement.
Wonderful. So a lot of progress.
That's a different sentence. I think there's a lot of work. Progress will be determined differently, I think.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, Jim, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Will.